I'm John Leonard. I'm a corporate lawyer with Fairfield and Woods in Denver, Colorado. We have a series of videos where your personal life or business life intersects with the law. And I've interviewed a lot of my colleagues on anything from wills and trusts to how to raise money to general litigation, strategies, receiverships, all sorts of things. So take a peek at our video series. We're here today with one of my partners, Adrian Castro. Adrian, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, John.
Adrian, you do a lot of things related to litigation, but in addition to litigating, you have part of your practice is focused in on employment law. Let's talk a little bit about some of the non-litigation things you do in employment law, and then I guess we'll talk about litigation or how to avoid litigation with what you do. Seems to me there's some hot topics right now. One of them's the new Colorado law on non-compete, non-solicitation. Tell me what's going on there. When did the law take effect? Sometime last year, I guess.
That's right, John. It took effect in August of 2022. And it hasn't really spread among employers in particular. They're not aware of all the restrictions. The new law is draconian in the sense that it essentially voids most non-competes, unless you're what's considered a high-end worker, a highly paid worker, which right now is over $112,000, then no non-compete can really apply, or non-solicitation, which is 60% of that $112,000 figure. Now, the problem we see is that historically, you can still put in a non-compete, non-solicitation in an employment contract, and some employers did that to scare employees, even though it was questionable whether it was enforceable. But with the new law, that practice can lead to penalties, civil penalties and criminal penalties as well.
Well, let me stop you right there. I've glanced at the law. What's the difference between a civil penalty and a criminal penalty or sanction? What could happen to an employer?
Well, for instance, misdemeanor, the criminal penalties can come with larger sanctions. And you don't want to be an employer out there that has this misdemeanor hanging over you. You don't want to be flagged by the Colorado Department of Labor, because more likely than not, if you've engaged in this practice, you're going to be subject to audits and other things moving forward, because they're going to want to make sure you're not repeating that misconduct. And that all costs money. And at the end of the day, that's the problem. You're going to continue to pay to take care of these audits. You're going to have to deal with attorneys, deal with the Colorado Department of Labor. And that's what we're seeing right now, is that a lot of the employers don't understand that that is a potential penalty for this type of misconduct.
And so with this new Colorado law, it's non-competition, it's non-solicitation of customers, and it's non-disclosure. And you have to give a notice?
That's correct. Especially for non-competes and non-solicitations, even if your employee falls within that category of being a highly compensated worker, you still have to provide them notice. This is both for prospective employees and for new employees as well.
And the notice can't be the agreement. It's a separate piece of paper.
That's correct. It has to be a separate piece of paper.
And so for an employer, what I'm hearing you say is if you have a non-disclosure, non-solicitation, non-competition, you're going to have, if you don't have two signatures, you've got a problem. They ought to be calling.
Yeah, you have a very big problem. Your non-compete, non-solicitation is void. If you don't have that, if you didn't provide that notice, it's void. And what we advise clients is that when you provide that notice, have them sign that notice. Because the last thing you want is for an employee to come back and take the position years down the road that the non-compete's unenforceable because you never provided notice and you don't have a signed copy that indicates and proves that the employee actually.
Yeah. Well, one of the things, we'll do a couple follow-up videos here, but if an employer is having an employee sign any kind of a non-compete, non-solicitation, non-disclosure, the old documents need to be looked at. And I guess in my mind, what I'm telling clients is if you aren't routinely having that employee sign something twice, okay, two separate things, they need to stop what they're doing and call us so that we can review their process and their documents, and you're just the perfect guy to do it. So
That's correct. And I'd say not just the documents, but also the policies and procedure. If your former policy was to have every employee sign a non-compete, non-solicitation, you have to be concerned, because if they fall underneath that wage threshold, this is void. And you can subject yourself to penalties for forcing someone to sign.
yeah. Well, by definition, you're looking at this after August 20th, 2022. The law changed here in Colorado. The Federal Trade Commission's trying to outlaw non-competes right now. That is not the law right now, but the law in Colorado certainly changed in 2022. So if you're involved in this, let's keep you out of litigation. Let's keep you off the radar with the Department of Labor, and you can sure call Adrian and we will get you figured out. Thanks for joining us today. We have a few more videos with Adrian on commercial law as well as employment law issues. Thanks for joining us.